Yo, Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? This is Coach Rance, and I'm back. We back, everybody. We back. We finally got the move done. We's back now. Got to tidy up a couple things before we get started. Yeah, I forgot to do. Give about 5 minutes for people to get on. So, welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. We are here on the live. I know y'all miss me. It's okay. You can say our little secret. We just keep to ourselves. No one has to know. No one's going to know. But we have completed our move to North Carolina. Unfortunately, in this domicile, I cannot smoke inside. So therefore, there shall be no cigar. We're going to be all right. All right, getting everything loaded. I don't even know if people are talking yet. Good morning, Cleo. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. What's up, sir? Glad to see you. Like I said, we're gonna give about 5 minutes and to let people get a chance to get on. I know it's been about 2 weeks or more since we've been able to do a live, simply because I moved from Georgia to the coastal North Carolina. If you've been following the channel, then you've seen a lot of the videos I've shot on the beach, and near water. I can't spell numbers. All right, my man from Ghana. Welcome all the way from Ghana. Yes, we are international in this joint. We got people from everywhere. But we got my man from Ghana. Now, the way the show goes today, or any day actually, we have our subject matter. So we're going to go through our subject matter. And after the subject matter, we will open up for general conversation. Where's that brightness coming from? It's coming from right there. Okay. And but we will do the subject matter first. So just hold your questions if you got something that's outside of the subject matter. And today, on Tuesdays, we have been going through the Bible. We started in Genesis, and now we're up to Numbers, and we're going to close out the book of Numbers today. And we're going to close out the book of Numbers. Numbers has been irritating at certain points because some of it's just been boring as all get out. Some of today's reading is going to be boring, but there's a few things in there that we'll be able to look at as to why that furthers our understanding of why we've walked away from this religion, and especially in Numbers 35 and 36. 34, not so much. It's another one of those boring kind of chapters, but we got to go through it, and we will continue through Deuteronomy. I said I don't know where we're going to stop or if we're going to skip around, because some of the books I'm just probably not going to do, like Chronicles. I'm probably not going to do Chronicles. I hated reading Chronicles every time I've studied this book. Yep. What's up, Brian? Quinn, Grand Rising, Cleo Francis, Ramses, Trauma, Brian W. Yep. I know it's been a minute, but the move, let me tell y'all something. I thought I was gonna get up here because we're gonna start in like 30 seconds. I thought I was gonna get up here in North Carolina, you know what I'm saying? And we were just gonna throw everything in, and then bam, on that Tuesday, because we moved on a Monday, we going back live. Man, my body was so hurting. I think we unpacked the last box like 2 days ago. That's why that trip up to Boston was well needed. When we went up to Boston, that was well needed. But as far as our traveling, follow us on Eat, Sip, and Smoke Travels. That's our travel blog. So we will be doing a lot of traveling. And Next month, March, we'll be doing hopefully the motorcycle will be fixed by then. My guy has said that it's going to be fixed, so it's going to be fixed. We'll be doing a motorcycle ride across America, from Wilmington all the way to San Diego and then LA, then a cigar conference in Vegas. But yeah, when we're going across there, I'm still going to be doing the lives. Still going to be doing the lives. They will just be at different time frames, because I think the first Tuesday that we're out will be in Dallas or El Paso, one of the two. I can't remember. Let's see. I know that Monday when Jackson said, yeah, Tuesday I think we'll be in Dallas. So it'll be Dallas time, but it'll be in the afternoon, no matter what, because the early part of the day we'll be riding to the next city. So just guys, just get prepared for that, just to let you know. And now we're going to get started. So for those of you who are finding me for the first time, welcome to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, where we break down why we've deconstructed from religion. We deconstruct from Christianity. That is the religion that I deconstructed from. That is the religion that I have studied for over 30 years. And so, and in my travels and been to different places to see these places for themselves, as well as study on a higher level. So here we are. And what we do is deconstruct it. In today's version on Tuesday, we do What's Wrong with the Bible, and we are reading through it just like I just explained. Now, we do the reading we go through it and break a few things down in the first hour. Then after that, the floor is open for about an hour or two, right? Depending upon it. Well, Angelina's not working anymore, so go like her channel. Really, did you know? So we're gonna still cut it. We're not doing 4, 5, 6 hour shows. We're just not doing that. So anyway, so I thank you guys for being here. Please continue to share the channel, because your sharing is what has grown this channel and what is making this possible. This would not be possible without you guys sharing the channels and watching all the videos, especially on Facebook and YouTube. And although if you are on Instagram right now, please go over to Facebook or YouTube, because for some reason I can't get it where your questions come up. But if you don't have any questions, you're fine. I mean, Instagram, sorry. If you're on Instagram, I can't see your questions unless I click over there. And I will click over from time to time. But Facebook and YouTube automatically pops up in the feed on StreamYard. So I haven't figured that part out yet. So, yeah. So therefore, let's get started. Let's start breaking this down, because the first book chapter is rather boring, but it got a little something going on to it. Oh, and if you want to go back and look at some of the older versions of these, like you say, oh shit, I just joined in and they're on Numbers 34. I want to know what happened in Numbers 27. Then you can go into YouTube and there's a playlist on the Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, the playlist, and that playlist will tell you exactly where. Then you can go through all of them. Some of them are a lot older, totally different scenarios around me, but it is what it is. But you can watch some of the old ones all the way from Genesis all the way up to now. And some of them are quite long. Oh, Marvell, you're a half hour. My pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, and for those who are in North Carolina, there will be some opportunities to meet up if you guys wanted to meet up. So just throwing that out there, because I had the same situation in Atlanta. You want to come by, trust me, Ramses would come by quite often. Not that I mind, I don't mind. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, because I definitely want to get to 35 and 36, because those are better chapters. But 34 does have a little bit of something that is interesting. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, the land of Canaan to its boundaries. Your southern borders will be from the wilderness of Zin along the borders of Edom. Then your southern border shall extend eastward to the end of the Salt Sea. That would be the Dead Sea. Your border shall turn from the southern side of the ascent of Akerbim, continue to Zim, and then on to the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it shall go to Hazar Adar and continue to Asmon. The border shall turn from Asmon to the brook of the Egypt, and shall end at the sea. As far as the western borders, you shall have a great sea for a border. It's talking about the Mediterranean. Uh, this will be your western border. Makes sense. And this shall be your northern borders from the great sea. You shall mark out your border line to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor you shall mark out your border to the entrance of Hamath. Then the direction of the border shall be toward Zedad. The border shall proceed to Zipharon, and it shall end at Hazar Enan. I mean Enan, something like that. This shall be your northern borders. Now, this is given, yeah, Mount Hor. It's spelled differently, but yeah. Grand Rising Pat, Eric, Angela. Uh, so understand that some of the things that we're reading here, right, are some of the lands that are in dispute right now between the Palestinians and the Israelites. And it is because of these writings here that the Israelites feel that they can go and take this from those people. Because when you look at this on a map, this extends into the Palestinian lands as well as other lands. Now, in truth, they thought we wouldn't be able to spell check this stuff, but these lands, when we go into this northern border on the next verse, this northern border actually goes up into Syria. So, and then it goes all the way, to Egypt. So this is why they feel like they can take all that land. But this is also why they continuously be in war, because these people believe that this is promised to them and they have the right to go and take this land from Syria or Egypt or whomever. And America supports that bullshit. They support it. And this shall be your northern border. From the great sea you shall mark out your borders line to Mount Hor. You was waiting on that, wasn't you, Trauma? From Mount Hor, spelled Hor, you shall mark your border to the entrance of Hamath. Then the direction of the border shall be towards Zedad. The border shall proceed to Zipporon, and it shall end at Hazar Enan. This shall be your northern border. You shall mark your eastern border from Hazar Enan to Shepham. The border shall go down from Shepham to Riblah on the east side of Ain. The border shall go down and reach the eastern side of the Sea of Chinnereth. The border shall go down along the Jordan, and it shall end at the Salt Sea. This shall be your land and its surrounding boundaries. Then Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, "This is the land to which ye shall inherit by lot, which the Lord has commanded to give to 9 tribes and to a half tribe." Because remember, in the previous chapter, or previous couple chapters, the tribe of Manasseh decided that they wanted to go ahead and stay on. Half of Manasseh decided they wanted to stay on the other side of the Jordan, as well as a couple other tribes, tribe of Reuben or somebody like that. For the tribe of the children of Reuben, according to the house of their fathers, and the tribe of the children of Gad, according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance, and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance. The 2 tribes and a half tribe have received their inheritance on the side of the Jordan across from Jericho eastward towards the sunrise. So you got them already getting they have. So now you want to divide this up. Now, isn't it interesting that this is a change here, right? You recognize a change. They are they're giving this border. These are the borders that they're supposed to have for their inheritance. But if you go back and you look at what Abraham was promised, he was promised land all the way to Mesopotamia, all the way into the Euphrates River, and all the way to the Nile River. So he was promised the inheritance is supposed to be all that land. So what is now they're drawing up other borders. And why are they drawing these borders up? Because in the 8th century, when these things were written, this is what they thought that they could get away with. They knew they couldn't say that the Israelites were going to command this land all the way over to the Euphrates, because they knew, fact checking even back then, they would have got their little lie handed down to them. So yeah, that part wasn't going to work. So they changed up the borders to make sure. Right. So let's continue. And I am looking at your questions and stuff over here. Like Brian saying, he wished an Italian would show up in London to claim the land the Romans stole from the natives of the Alba. Yeah, yeah. These are the only people can. These are the only ones getting away with this bullshit. They are getting away with this. Oh, actually, Brian makes a very good statement here. Let me throw that one up here. I want everybody on YouTube to be able to see this one. This is a very good statement. If they already received the inheritance and lost it in a war or sold it away, wouldn't that invalidate modern claims? Mm-hmm. It would, except for the fact that, according to these stories, they are supposed to hold this in perpetuity. This is no matter if they lose it or gain it back, they're always supposed to be able to get it back as soon as they get back into doing what their God tells them to do with all the sacrificing and all the other stuff, then they're supposed to be able to get it back. So they do have a loophole that allows them to be able to make this claim over and over again because they can demonstrate how in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, how we was acting right, but then we started acting wrong, and the Assyrians came and took our land. But then we started acting right after 200 years, and we were released from Babylonian captivity, and we got our land back. And then we lost. So they got the whole story. Their storylines allows them to go back and forth with this inheritance. But the inheritance is supposed to always be theirs, and that's the rub and of how they continue to be able to do this mess. Let me check. All right, yeah. Instagram, I can't. Um, you're not. It's not showing any comments for yours on Streamyard. Just letting you know. So Facebook and YouTube will be the best one if you're gonna make comments. Just throwing that one out there again for the people who are on Instagram. Roughly, what year did the so-called first Israelite start? I'm not exactly sure I understand your question, but the first mentioning of an Israelite is not until the Merneptah Stele, which would place them around 1200, between 1200 and 1400 BCE. I think 1400 BCE is the first ever mentioning of an Israelite. There's nothing else that would identify an Israelite prior to that time frame. And they were just Canaanites and or worshippers of the Aten. From the 1400 BCE, that once Tutankhamun took over and Akhenaten was killed, they moved their happy ass to the Levant and then merged with some other tribes during merged with some other tribes, the Shashu, and then the Hyksos came in, and then other Canaanites came in, and they continued to change their religion over a course of about 200 years to form these Israelite people, and created their own lies of history. But that's a whole nother conversation. So let's continue with our reading. We don't want to get too distracted. All right. And we can get into some of these other discussions after we finish the reading. All right. So where we at? Verse 16. Yeah. So now they got to pick the leaders. This is those kind of things that just drive me. And now we got to pick a whole bunch of leaders so I can fuddle through some names that I can't say correctly. All right. So, but let's hit it. Let's get it. Let's go. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "These are the names of the men who shall divide the land among you as an inheritance. Eleazar, the priest of Joshua, the son of Nun, and you shall take one leader of every tribe to divide the land for the inheritance. These are the names of the men from the tribes of Judah: Caleb, the son of Jephthah, from the tribe of the children of Simeon; Shumiel, the son of Aminahab, from the tribe of Benjamin; Eliadad, the son of Chisalon, the leader from the tribe of the children of Dan. uh, Buki, Buki, Buki. I wanted to say something else, but sorry. Y'all excuse me on that. Buki, the son of Jagali, from the sons of Joseph, uh, a leader from the tribe of the children of Manasseh. Hanielel, the son of Ephod, and the leader from the tribe of the children of Ephraim. Kemuel, the son of Shiphathan, the leader from the tribe of the children of Zebulun. Elzaphan, the son of Parnat, and a leader of the tribe of the children of Issachar. Paliatel, the son of Azan, the leader from the children of the tribe of Asher. Uh, Ahihud, that's the son of Shomiel. I don't know, fuck it, that person, and the leader from the tribe of the children of Nephtali. Pedahel, son of Aminahab. All right, these are the ones that Lord commanded and divided inheritance to the children of the land of Israel and Canaan. I am so thankful to be friends with that chapter, and I hate when they have these names. I obviously did not take uh, this language at any point in time. Studied a little bit of it, but still struggle with the phonetics. So let's finally going to get into some other stuff about this one. The next two chapters are a little bit more interesting. As in this chapter, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of murder. Yeah, a whole bunch of murder and how you can get away with murder and what is murder. And then a kind of stupid situation concerning murder in this next chapter. So, chapter 35, because we're going to finish this chapter. This book ends at chapter 36. So this is why we're doing 3 chapters today. All right. That's why we're doing 3 chapters. And y'all can tell I'm a little rusty, so don't get mad at me. I had a couple of weeks of not doing your lives. All right. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they give the Levite cities to dwell in from the inheritance of their possessions, and you shall also give the Levites common land around the cities. They shall have the cities to dwell in, and their common land shall be for their cattle. And common land means pasture land. It shall be for their cattle, for their herds and all their animals. The common land of the cities which you will give the Levite shall extend from the wall of the city outwards 1,000 cubits all around. And you should measure outside the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, on the south side 2,000 cubits, on the west side 2,000 cubits, on the north side 2,000 cubits, and the city shall be in the middle. This shall belong to them as common land for the cities. One thing. Did they just forget that he said he's only going to give them 1,000 cubits and then immediately changes it to 2,000 cubits? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Right? Like, how do you go from 1,000 cubits in one sentence and then the next sentence over? Yeah, fuck it. Let's just give him 2,000 cubits squared. But that's the good old Bible. Always forgetting exactly what it just said a few seconds ago. And also, this is one of those things where, remember, why are the Levites getting free shit? The Levites are the ones who are supposed to be taking care of the tabernacle of this God. So they don't have time to go and have industry, so they are the priesthood and they're taking care of the worship and devotion towards this God. They got to feed it, they got to clean it. They got to dress it. They got to cook for it. They got to carry all this, build his house and carry all the stuff, and decorate the house and all the gold. And remember, all these things are given to them through donations, through whether you want to call them tithes, whether you want to call them offerings, but they're given to these people. This is the same mentality that people have today of giving to their pastors. they're just giving to these people, and these people shouldn't have to work. But we got to give them land and give them cattle and give them and give them and give them. And I know people today say that, oh, the tithe has never been money. Bullshit. If I lived back then and I gave you 2 chickens, that's my money. I don't know about a ringing noise. Hell no, you Trauma, you crazy. You know I would never ever allow a smoke detector to just be beeping. Oh. See, for y'all who don't know, Trauma know we was talking about dating one time. I was like, I could never date a woman. And I told him a story about this woman who had this damn uh, smoke detector just beeping, beeping. I was like, oh hell no, I ain't dating her. Grand Rising Texas got it. Hi, good to see you. Ringing noise, feedback or something. I can hear it too. Okay, let me make sure this is plugged in. Now I know the fan on my computer is on right now. If I take, and this is a different microphone. Maybe it's the microphone. All right. Can you still hear it? Can you even hear me now? Because I wouldn't know. Can y'all still hear me? Well, y'all got to answer me. Can you still hear me? I'm open to questions. Okay. Are you? Can you hear the ringing that y'all was talking about? Y'all can hear me and the ringing. Why you ain't tell me this when we first started 30 minutes ago? Let me go get my other microphone.
It's not ringing. It's like a beeping noise.
It's a beeping noise?
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all hold on. We testing out some stuff.
Yeah, give me the earpiece. You got it, man. There's no noise up here.
I think it's
just the. So you.
there's
Grab
a
your mic.
there's a I took the mic. The mic's not plugged in right now.
So what's plugged in?
What the hell is that noise?
You only hear it up here. I've been outside. I've been downstairs. You can't hear it. Give your phone back.
So it's not the.
No.
Close that door. I can hear all of that. That got to be the fan from this computer.
That's the only high pitched noise I hear.
Mm.
Stop.
Can you do me a favor? You know the box that I took downstairs yesterday that had all my microphones and stuff in? The long box the longer.
Just bring the whole box.
No, don't bring the whole box. Just the one that has the microphone. And let me switch back to the original mic I've been using. It's horrendous.
It's not that bad.
There's nothing like when I take, if I didn't have this earpiece in that was connected to Angelina's phone so that I can hear what y'all are hearing, I would have no idea because I don't hear none of that noise. I'm gonna change the microphone though.
It's the fan.
Huh?
It's the fan.
It got to be the fan. But let's I'm gonna change the microphone because I've never used this microphone for this. As I knock stuff down. Huh?
This is one box.
No, there's okay. Give me that. Give me that coaxial. Do 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 do. Shoo-la-da-da-da. You see that, please? It's probably not gonna make any difference whatsoever. All right, y'all. Can y'all hear me? Hello? Okay. All right, we good. You're just delayed.
Yeah.
Okay. So they can hear me. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna keep going. If it's, it is what it is. I don't know what.
You don't hear it?
Huh?
You don't hear it.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
you don't hear it anymore.
Oh, you do?
You
Don't. So maybe it was that microphone. So I can only use that microphone when I'm using it on the phone. And then this microphone got to be for the laptop. All right. So, well, I appreciate everybody's patience as we try to figure that out because I would like you guys to have the best experience we possibly can have. So now let's continue where we are. The only thing I know of is the fan has been blowing this whole time on the laptop. The computer fan has been on. Now, to get back to it, I know somebody did ask a question. Can they, do we answer questions as we're going through? We don't answer questions unless they have something to do with the subject matter to which we're talking about while we're going through that subject matter. After we're done, then we will have open discussion about any questions that people may ask. So let's get back to the lesson, to the reading here, because we do have 2 chapters to go through, although these 2 chapters are not that long. So we are now in 35, chapter 35. I almost finished with a whole book. I'm so proud of you guys who have been through every one of these videos of the book of Numbers because we almost finished with an entire book. And you have probably read more of the Bible than most people who actually believe in this thing. Isn't that something? So when the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they give the, oh, wait a minute. I already read that part. That's about the cities, right? The cubits, the 2,000 acres, cubits in the west side, 2,000 cubits. Yeah. So they messed up the cubits. Now amongst the city. All right. Sorry. So we're actually at verse 6. Now among the cities which you will give to the Levites, you shall appoint 6 cities of refuge to which a murderer, even though my version is saying manslayer, which a murderer may flee. And to these you shall add 42 cities, so that all the cities you will give to the Levites shall have 48 cities. You shall give these you shall give with their common land, and the cities then the cities you will give shall be for the possession of the children of Israel. For the larger tribes ye shall give many, from the smaller you shall give few. Each shall give some of its cities to the Levites in proportion to the inheritance that they receive. So basically, we're going to talk about having refuge cities for murderers. And let me preface it by saying this. The idea here is that if a person was to murder someone, then the family would automatically seek vengeance and murder that person back before they have an opportunity of a trial. But we're going to see how this system doesn't make any sense and still does not work, right? It's just not going to work. And it's a dumbass system. If we still had this system today, I want you to think about the complications of it and then project that back to then. All right. So let's go through it. Then the Lord said to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you come across the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint the cities. Did I just read that? No, I didn't. Then you shall appoint the cities to the refuge that the murderers who kill any person accidentally may flee there. They shall be the city of refuge for you from the avenger, that the murderer may not die until he stands before the congregation in judgment. And of the cities which you give, you shall have 6 cities of refuge. You shall appoint 3 cities on the side of the Jordan, and 3 cities shall be appointed on the land of Canaan, which will be the cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be for the refuge for the children of Israel, for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, and anyone who kills a person accidentally may flee there. So foreigners who want to live in their area and travelers who want to live in their area have to live in refuge cities where people who are fleeing or trying to stay safe from murder are living, whether they are a legit murderer or they accidentally murdered somebody. Foreigners and journeymen and travelers must stay with the murderers. And you are building an entire city, 6 cities rather, for murderers. Now remember, only 2.5 tribes are on the side of Jericho, on the one side of Jericho, and the other ones are going to be on the good side of Jericho. And even though there's like an overwhelming majority of people are on one side inside Jericho, they got the same number of refuge cities. I think they expect the lower population to murder just as much as the higher population. Just sounds a little familiar. They preemptively saying, yeah, they might be the minority, but they're going to do more murdering. I don't know if anybody else caught that. That was like one of the first things I caught when I saw that one. But we're going to have these cities and we're going to make foreigners stay in the worst situation with the worst people. But it does make sense to the point you don't want you want them to stand trial. You want them to stand trial. Yes, it's a sanctuary city. But the trial is stupid. And then we're going to get to that. But if he strikes with an iron implement so that he dies. So this is going to talk about the types of murder, things that happen to murderers and what they should do. But if he strikes him with an iron implement so that he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. If he strikes him with a stone in his hand, by which one could die, and he does die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he strikes him with a wooden hand weapon, by which one could die, he does die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The avenger of blood himself shall put the murderer to death. When he meets him, he shall put him to death. So now I actually like this. You killed my brother. No, it's not the state that gets to kill you. I get to kill you. Basically, that's what they just said right there. The family member gets to go and kill the person who killed their family member. So there it is. Not talking about an angel, nothing like that. It's talking about the family members get to kill that joker. If he pushes him out of hatred, or while lying in wait, hurls something at him and so that he dies, or in enmity, he strikes him with his hand so that he dies. The one who struck him shall surely be put to death. He is a murderer. The avenger of blood shall put the murderer to death when he meets him. So this is why they had to have the sanctuary city, because certainly we're going to go and kill that joker who killed my brother. That sounds fair and personal. Yeah. However, if he pushes him suddenly without enmity and throws anything at him without lying in wait, or uses a stone by which a man could die, throwing it at him without seeing him, so that he dies, while he is not his enemy or seeking his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the murderer and the avenger of blood according to these judgments. So the congregation shall deliver the murderer from the hands of the avenger of blood, and the congregation shall return him to the city of refuge where he had fled, and he shall remain there until the death of the high priest who was anointed the holy oil. So even if I'm found that I shouldn't be put to death by the avenger of blood, the family members, but I did accidentally kill someone, I have to remain in the refuge city until the judge, the high priest that judged me, dies. Then I can return back to my family. It's like, tell them about the gun line, boss. Tell them about the gun line. You're in a workers' camp. Better than turning the other side of the face, which you never. But that's a workers' camp. What kind of bullshit is that? I threw a rock. You happen to come in view as I threw the rock. The rock busts you upside your head. You die. It's an accident. I now am delivered to see that it's an accident, but I still got to go and live away from my family, away from my friends, and I lose everything, my whole lifestyle. And I got to go live in this refugee city with real murderers and foreigners and travelers. And you know it's going to be the worst spot in town. You know it's going to be the worst area. You know it ain't going to be nice. We ain't going, even though I'm not in Atlanta no more, we ain't going up in Alpharetta. This ain't Alpharetta. This ain't Buckhead. We ain't going to Midtown. You about to send me to the SWATs. And I got to stay there until the high priest dies. Ain't that all the bullshits? And we're supposed to abide by this type of mentality of this book. And to a certain degree, this is prison system, prison work camp system. And your sin is until the high priest dies. It's just horrible. All right, let's continue. But if the murderer at any time goes outside the city limits of the refuge city where he fled, and the avenger of blood finds him outside the city limits of the city of refuge, and the avenger of blood kills the murderer, he shall not be guilty of his blood. Tell him about the gun line, boss. Tell him about the gun line, boss. Because basically, if you go outside the city, past the gun line, then if one of those family members who rose up on you can now kill you, and that person is not considered a murderer because you are outside the gun line. You see what I'm saying? You're outside the gun line. Staying. Oh, sorry. I got that movie in my head. You playing tag, you it. All right, so not be found because blood. Because he should have remained in the city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the murderer may return to the land of his possession. Man, I hope the high priest is old. You get your good old 40-year-old high priest. You're going to be living in the refuge city for a long ass time. So let's continue. And these things shall be because this is the end of 35. We're going to read to this will be the end of 35. And this, you see how this book just switched from land ownership to murder, and then it's going to switch again in just a second, but still dealing with land ownership, and then go back on his word. And these things shall be the statute of judgment to you throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So here's one of those problems that I have with this book. And these things shall be a statute of judgment to you and throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So why are not they still doing this? Even if take the Christians out, why aren't the Jewish people still doing this right now? Why do Jewish people abide by the laws of America and send people to prison? Why aren't they judging them according to the high priest until the high priest dies? This is what they're supposed to be doing. Why is it that when you go to Israel, this is not how they live their life? They claim this book and they're stealing people's land by claiming this book, according to this book. They're fighting and killing the Palestinians according to this book, but yet they themselves don't follow this book at this point. It's the same thing with Christians. They follow the parts that are convenient for them based on their culture today and not follow the book exactly how the book is written because they're supposed to be followers of this book. I'm just saying, it says for generations in all your dwellings. So I'll continue so we can finish this chapter. Whoever kills a person, the murderer shall be put to death on the testimony of witnesses. But one witness is not sufficient testimony against a person for the death penalty. Moreover, you shall take no ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death. And you shall take no ransom for him who has fled to his city of refuge, that he may return to dwell in the land before he is put to death. So you shall not pollute the land where you are, for blood defiles the land, and no atonement can be made for the land. For the blood that has been shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. Therefore do not defile the land which you inhabit, in the midst of the land I dwell. For I, the Lord, dwell among the children of Israel. So that whole part has a couple of breakdowns in it, right? Yes. And murder is still murder, whether you call it kill or murder. That's some bullshit, how Christians try to define it and separate it and all that kind of bullshit. But anyway, so understand, it's saying that a person, one witness is not sufficient. So if I were to come and let's say Brian W. gets into a fight with Victor, I'm just using the first names I see, right? And one of them killed each other. Let's say Brian kills Victor, and then Derek is the only witness. Well, Brian can't be accused of murder and given the death penalty because you only got one witness. Doesn't now that one witness, we know still Victor died, but because Derek is the only one who saw it, Brian cannot be accused of it or given the death penalty because of it. Now, if Derek and Nevin both saw it, then they can say, yes, Brian now got to go to jail now Brian can have the death penalty for killing Victor because two of us saw it, but if only one person saw it. And here's the really bullshit about this one. And this one I do take close to heart. I do take close to heart on this one. It is not based on that statement, but later on in Deuteronomy, when we get into Deuteronomy, I'm going to cover this again. But the Jehovah's Witness, the reason why so many sexual assaults in the Jehovah's Witness group happen and are not reported or nothing is done about it is because in Deuteronomy, it also has a different, it's not about murder, but it talks about the fact that if a sexual assault is happening and there is only the one witness, that you have to have two witnesses for a sexual assault. And because usually sexual assault only has the victim and the assailant, then it gets dismissed. And the Jehovah Witness and the Catholics are very big on ignoring the shit out of that based on some bullshit in Deuteronomy. And this is some bullshit when it comes to murder too. That just because you can have all the other evidence in the world, but you only got one witness. That's stupid. That's dumb. And how many times, as far as me being a black man, how many times have people colluded together, knowing that there's a false allegation, but then others like, yeah, sure did. Come on. We know people get together like that. So that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. What God? This guy is not smart enough to write a book if that's what he thinks. It's not smart enough. Yeah. No, not even slightly. And then what else about the party here? Now it's pretty good. They do have another. This, like I told you guys, I'll point out something that's good. It's good that they're saying that a person can't pay a ransom. Basically, rich people can't buy their way out of the death penalty, and rich people can't buy their way out of leaving a refugee city, a sanctuary city. That you can't bribe your way out of murder. You can't bribe your way out of the refugee. There are sanctuary cities, yeah. And so that is a good thing. At least they did that, which is interesting. It's the one thing that Christian is one of those things that people who believe in this Bible don't follow, though, right? Because we know rich people get out. We know rich people buy their way into the nicer prisons, or if they have to go. We know that they, go to country club prisons, that they buy their way out of having to stay in jail. If you don't have enough money to pay bail, but we have a bail system. This is effectively saying no bail system. So that's one of the things that they don't follow. But it's right here telling you that you shouldn't have those kinds of things. Right? And this guy is saying, don't do it. But they still do it. They still do it. And they're saying that, this is one of the reasons for the refugee city, so that all the death and the blood remains over there, because this guy you can't have blood with this guy is it. If you're gonna kill him in the refugee city. Can't kill him in my city, because I must be kept clean of blood. When this is the most bloodthirsty, maniacal God ever. We have one more chapter. Good money, good life. Hey, I tell people all the time, your best thing is to become as wealthy as you possibly can, because if some shit go down, you're going to need the money. Let's see. I got some people on Instagram. No, I closed down the popcorn shop. I'm not using my phone at all. Okay, I see. Y'all was way back. But on YouTube, and your comments don't come through on Instagram. They come through on, if they're on YouTube and Facebook, they come through on my StreamYard. So I like to go back and let y'all know every now and then on Instagram. All right. So let's knock out this last chapter. I see. I'm going to have to do a few other things. I need a chair that sits a little bit lower and some more lights. First time in a new location, y'all. First time in a new location. Angelina got a great little she got a great little space for her videos. So if you follow her on Really Did You Know, over the next few days, you're going to see her little setup for her videos. And it's all nice and girly cute. I'm going to use it every now and then just because, even though she got flowers on it. Let's go. Sidetrack for a minute. Let's go. Last part, y'all. And then for those who have started with the book of Numbers with me, you will be able to say that you have went through and broken down the book of Numbers. Congratulations. Most Christians have never done that. So 36. If you remember back in 27, if you was with us in I believe it's 27. Yes, it is, girly Angelina. Stop her line. In 27, there was an issue, right? And the issue was you had the daughters of Zephahad. I'm gonna say this name. I'm gonna mess up this name. Zephahad. Yeah, the daughters of Zephaniah, I'm probably saying it wrong. And they were like, look, we don't get any inheritance because our father only had daughters, didn't have any sons. We have no brothers. We should get inheritance. And the Lord said, with Moses said, yeah, you know what? You're right. You should get inheritance. So it was a great thing for women's rights. Like the Bible is saying that women are equal and they should be able to inherit the land and all that stuff, right? It was that would be a great progressive thing that most women have never heard preached in a church ever before, that women were authorized inheritance. And here's the reason why. Because if a preacher did preach that, he'll have to take that shit right back and put some restrictions on their inheritance. And chapter 36 is all about those restrictions. So let's take a ride. Now, the chief father of the families of the children of Gilead, and the son of Machir, and the son of Manasseh, and the families of the sons of Joseph came near and spoke before Moses and before the leaders, the chief fathers of the children of Israel. And they said, the Lord commanded my Lord Moses to give the land as an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance to our brothers Zelophehad, to his daughters. Now, if they are married to any sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and it will be added to the inheritance of the tribe to which they marry. So it will be taken from the lot of our inheritance. And when the jubilee of the children of Israel come, then their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe to which they marry, so that their inheritance will be taken away from the inheritance of the tribes of our father. So I was reading that certain way just to make sure that I am clear. What they're saying is that, yes, you gave the inheritance to the daughters, but if those daughters marry somebody from a different tribe, then the land inheritance goes to that tribe instead of staying with our tribe, right? So, and they're saying that this inheritance should stay within our tribe. It's kind of like when I talk about a family bank, right? I don't know if you guys have ever heard me talk about a family bank. And I've always said that deciding members of a family bank must be blood relatives. Otherwise, you run the risk of your family bank not being of your family anymore after a certain number of generations of people being put on who actually fathers are coming from other families outside of the primary. So if you don't have Ross blood in you, you cannot sit on the board of our family bank. This is effectively what they're saying, right? The daughters get married and the husband, right? If your daughters get married, the husband people gain, right? And that's the situation here. So those ladies, they trying to take away their rights to a certain extent or minimize it. So let's see what Moses says. Then Moses commanded the children of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, what the tribe of the sons of Joseph speak is right. This is what the Lord commands concerning the daughters of Zephaniah. Now, normally this God and Moses go and have a side conversation, but they just skip that part and saying, hey, this is what Lord said. It's kind of like when those pastors sit up there and they be talking, oh, the Lord just told me something. The Lord just told me something right now. Oh, yes. The Lord just told me something right now. I'll say this. I'll say that. What I was about to say, I'm going to say it after. This is what the Lord commands concerning the daughters of Zephaniah, saying, let them marry whom they think best, but they may marry only within the family of their father's tribe. So the inheritance of the children of Israel shall not change hands from tribe to tribe, for every one of the children of Israel shall keep the inheritance of the tribe of their fathers, and every daughter who possesses an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be the wife of one of her family of her father's tribe. so that the children of Israel each may possess the inheritance of his fathers. Thus, no inheritance shall change hands from one tribe to another, but every tribe of the children of Israel shall keep its own inheritance. I'm going to go ahead and finish this one out. So, just as the Lord commanded Moses, so did the daughters of Zelophehad for the Mahala, Teresa, Hogala, Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married to the sons of their father's brothers. Yes, they married their cousin fuckers. They were married into the families of the children of Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of their father's family. These are the commandments and the judgments which the Lord commanded the children of Israel by the hand of Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. Yes, they cousin fuckers. We're going to end this whole chapter, this whole book, with cousin fucking. And I mean to say it that way. So basically, but I have a major problem with this. This is supposed to be the omnipresent, all-knowing God. The man with a plan. Why is there a change or an addition, an addendum, an attachment to his statement in Numbers? I believe it's either 24 or 27. Why is there if you're the all-knowing God, didn't you already think through this process when you first said that you're going to give them some inheritance? Why didn't he satisfy that issue in the very beginning when he first said that the daughters deserves to have an inheritance? Back then, he should have said, yeah, you daughters get the inheritance, but you got to marry your cousins, your uncles, your brothers, you got to do that, your grandpas, in order to get this inheritance. Why that they was able to get the inheritance? Now they just frolicking, and then all of a sudden some other dudes starts realizing, oh, we gonna lose some land. Because strategically, if I'm in the tribe of somebody else, I'm like in the tribe of Dan, I'm gonna send my sons to go get some of them daughters every time there's a daughter that inherits some stuff so we can get some more land. You see what I'm saying? So they realized that they could lose their properties, get smaller, and the smaller they get, the less voting rights they have, the less all that bullshit. And so they realized that. And then this guy was like, oh yeah, oh my bad, I'm God, but I ain't think about that. This is why I can't believe in this God. How could this guy not have thought about that? And then why treat women like second-class citizens in the first place? But why does God forget about that? No Christian would be able to justify that. You can't justify it. Your God forgot. He didn't realize that was going to be an issue. And then when some men brought it up, he was like, oh shit, my bad. You know what? Y'all right. We got to keep it even. So y'all got to be cousin fuckers. Mm-hmm. That's the deal. Cousin. Go get your cousin. Keeping it all in the family. Very good. Why does it always have incest? It just does. They like banging their cousins and their uncles, and I mean Moses' mom is his aunt, so that's why when we was talking about in Exodus, we was calling her his auntie mom. Yeah, and all this. Look, the cousin fucking just really stopped. What, about 40 years ago, maybe? Oh, I actually remember. Let me tell y'all. So the first time I got married, I was 19 years old. And when I got married, you still had to take a blood test. And you took the blood test. This was in Georgia. You took the blood test to make sure that y'all weren't cousins. So this people were still fighting cousin fuckers up until more recent times. Because that would have been 30 something years ago. Yeah, that was been almost a little right at 30 years ago. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It didn't count if you were like second cousin or you had once removed. I didn't even know what a removed was until I was about dang 26 years old. Like, what's a removed? I was just making up stuff. But yep. So we have completed the book of Numbers, y'all, and we ended it on cousin fucking. We sure did. That's how the writers of this book. Now you would think that the next thing we are going to do is go right into Jericho and how they conquer Jericho, right? Yay, they're gonna conquer Jericho. No, they're not gonna go and conquer Jericho because the next book is Deuteronomy, the last of the Torah, the last of the so-called books written by Moses. And we know they weren't written by Moses, but the last book is the next book is the book of Deuteronomy, which is gonna summarize pretty much everything that we've done so far from Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers, and but we're gonna have some fun with Deuteronomy. You know, we get to mess with some Hebrew Israelites when we do Deuteronomy. You know, later on in late in Deuteronomy, we'll get 28, and we get to play around with it. It's gonna be some bullshit in that one too, and then we'll get to the book Joshua when they actually go into Jericho. So we will be doing the book Deuteronomy. Just so next week we start Deuteronomy 1. We are now open for any kind of questions um, for at least the next hour or so. We are open for any questions, any conversation, any subject matter. Uh, but we finished Numbers. And like I said, if you've done all of that, you've read more than most people who believe in this book. So, congratulations. What? One of the name of God is El Shaddai, the many breasted one. So, if God was a woman hater, why would he give him a title like that? Are you serious, Jewel? Because technically, these are my breasts. The term breast only relating to women is a more modern concept. This is still a man's chest is his breast. The when they wore their armor, it was a breastplate that went across the top. You got to take it away from what how we think today and take it into how they thought back then. So this is a breast, and a shield across you is your breastplate on your armor. So that don't compute. This guy does hate women, plain and simple. He treats women like crap. I thought God only gave 10 laws and the rest were cultural laws by man. No, no, the overwhelming majority of them are laws by your God because he says that these are things you would do in perpetuity. These are laws, and laws are things that you shall not break. And so when you say in perpetuity, then it's a law. Have you ever considered that the other option for the Jews was to mix with the Canaanites who were whores that murdered their own children? Okay, I don't know what you're talking about on that one. That the other option can, what was the first option? Oh, maybe you're answering. So if you're talking to somebody else, if you put their name first, then I'll know if you're talking to them because that one seems like a response to something else. So let me see. Instagram got any questions that's going on? No, Instagram does not. Come on back. Let me see if I missed some other questions maybe earlier. Y'all don't want to talk to me today? Man, y'all don't want to talk to me. Yeah, I go outside so I can have a cigar. It's a little cold out there today. I think it's like 57 degrees. In regards to having sex with another tribe member or mixed with a Canaanite who murdered their own children, which would you choose? In regards to having sex with another tribe member or mixed with a Canaanite who murdered their own children, who would you choose? Well, one of the things that you must understand, Victor, is that the Israelites also murdered their own children. The idea of a Moloch is not a actual one individual god, but it is the process by which they practice child sacrifice. And archaeological evidence insists and shows that northern Israelites practice child sacrifice in the same way. And even your Bible, we covered this in Exodus and Leviticus. Before they started saying that the Levitical priest line would represent the firstborn of every Israelite given to God, they indicated that that firstborn was to be done in the same way that they sacrificed the other animals who had their firstborn. So the Israelites practiced child sacrifice as well, not just your Canaanites. But child sacrifice was something that was very popular in a lot of different cultures around the world. So the Israelites were not devoid of that issue. So that's a bunch of bullshit, sir, just to put it gently. That's a bunch of BS to think that they weren't practicing child sacrifice. It's just that by the time you get to the rewritings of Ezra in the 500s, but it was initially started by Hezekiah in the 700s BCE, that's when they started writing the text and started doing away with child sacrifice. So you don't have child sacrifice really being eliminated until started being eliminated in the 700s, but fully eliminated in the 500s BCE, and that's when they stopped doing child sacrifice. But before that, they was all up in child sacrifice, which would mean that during this time frame of Moses, they was doing some child sacrifice. But they wrote it in as if they stopped it, but they didn't. So it doesn't matter which one you marry. It's all about keeping. It's all about land and wealth and control. No, most of the people who are claiming to be Israelites are not Israelites. They are into the religion. They are grafted into the religion. Hell, I don't think people would know who a real Israelite is nowadays. To be honest, the land has been. If you think about the Israelites, they've been conquered by so many. So they've been conquered and or occupied for so long. Whether it's the Romans, the Greeks, before. Okay, so I'm gonna go in reverse. Romans, Greeks, Persian, Babylonians, Assyrians, Proto Egyptians, the Cometics, the Egyptians, and then the Arcadians, and then the Egyptians again, and then the Sumerians. They've been they a mixed bag like a champ. They like it's like Puerto Rican. You go to a Puerto Rican family, just in that one little family, they like all kind of different looks. But those people have been conquered by so much, by so often, nobody knows what they are. It's all about being following this religion and its culture. That's what makes you an Israelite. It got shit to do with your birth. A quick review of number 6. Man, what the hell? Let me see if I'm able to do that. Because most of the time before I do these, I study it for about a good day. I need more time on that one, dude. I speak to children. Mm. Now I would have to sit down and read this whole thing to go over it. What? And 50 years ago, back in the native, back or so, back the natives of the Canadians intermingled with some of their fathers would take their daughters and their babies, and yeah, it would. Ooh. Like I say, the Hebrews stole from the Canaanites. It's said that the Canaanites lived as what we would call a progressive society and had vast resources unfamiliar to them. And they did. And we're going to go, when we get into the actual book of Joshua, it shows where they stole from those people. But in the sad part about it is that if it wasn't for the Bronze Age collapse, the Israelite people would probably not have existed, not have been able to sustain themselves, because the Canaanites then moved in to their area during the Bronze Age collapse. Enoch was never removed from the Bible. Enoch was never part of the Bible. Enoch never met the qualifications to become part of the canon. It was always one of the disputed books, and declared heresy. Yet it was one of the very popular read books, and that is why it is quoted in so many other books of the Bible. But Enoch was never removed because it was never in it. But they quote the shit out of it and have many of its themes, which would make you think that it should be in it, right? Yeah, and some of the traditions of Easter, sacrificing babies was a part of it. When you look at the worship of Ishtar Elnana, uh, participating in a Moloch was part of the Easter celebration in many cultures back in the day. I don't know. Off subject question: why does it feel like Black History Month compared to last year's ain't hitting that hard? What I mean is not hearing anything. Um, I don't know. I'm hearing about the same as I heard about it last year. About different events going on. Maybe because I'm in the South. It's I don't know. Have you studied the Eastern Orthodox Church? Nope. What would be the point? Why would I study the Eastern Orthodox Church? I've studied like certain aspects of it when it comes up as far as a major subject matter, but not something that I would just I want to go study the Eastern Orthodox Church. Um, I believe they have the books of Enoch as part of their Bible, I believe. But other than other than small things like that, I don't see a reason to study a church, because then there are 40,000 different denominations of Christianity. Why would I go and study all 40,000? That hell, I didn't even think I got that much time. Yeah, here Brian makes a good point. Even the Chinese, who had many, many tribes, are not the original people from the tribal societies. Nobody on the planet, except maybe the people from the Sentinel Islands, are still of their original people. Everybody else, everybody have had intermingling, changing, migrations, all kind of shit happen. So nobody is pure. You know, I'm pure this, I'm pure that. You're pure bullshit. There's no such thing. Oh, and I fell way behind. So y'all know when I fall right behind, I skip down. Uh, okay. That's a legit reason for asking. And things are taught differently. That's why there are all the different denominations because they teach different things. Oh. What is the New Testament for? To create a docile version of Judaism. Well, it was a failed attempt to create a docile version of Judaism by the Roman Church. Well, not even by the Roman Church, by the Roman Emperor Vespasian, that later became the Roman Church. Uh, but it's a failed attempt at getting rid of Judaism because the Jews were causing revolts throughout the Roman Empire. This don't make no sense. I was going to say that a different way. That's why I had to pause. Start with the New Testament, then go to the Old Testament. That makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely none. That's like saying, "Hey, watch Endgame, and then go back and start with Iron Man 1." Makes no sense, dude. You can't start at the end at the story made up to fit the Old Testament, and then read the Old Testament later. That what is your justification, Brian, for reading the Old Testament first? I mean, the New Testament first, and then going to the Old Testament. Explain your logic, because that makes that no sense whatsoever. The New Testament was already in Libya. Okay, see, it's how you have worded this that makes you right, but you're also wrong because this. You're manipulating the idea with words. The New Testament was already in Libya and Ethiopia over 200 years before the Vatican. You're all kind of wrong. First part, Christianity didn't come to Ethiopia until 330. 330. This will be after the Council of Nicaea. The Vatican had yet been established, so you'd be right about the Vatican because the Vatican is not established yet. The Vatican is established after the Council of Nicaea. Is not even established until after Theodosius makes Rome, the whole Roman Empire, Christian. So you're right about it. It does get to Ethiopia first, but not 200 years before the Vatican. No, merely about 50, 60 years before the Vatican is established. But you're wording this in such a way to make it seem like Libya, which is wrong, is not Libya, it's Egypt, had Christianity first in Africa. Then, about 200 years later, it was taken to Ethiopia. So Ethiopia didn't get it to 330, but there was the Coptic Church in Egypt long before then, which is where Athanasius and Arius was. So you got it wrong. But the other part is this: what you're ignoring is the fact that Christian churches were set up all throughout Rome since the first century. So Christianity was in Rome, in Europe, in the Mediterranean, long before it ever got to Ethiopia. So stop trying to claim that the Bible is from the black people. It ain't. It is not from Africa. It ain't. It's from the Levant, created by the Romans. And since Philo of Alexander is one of the persons who were writing what becomes your Gospels, then he was in Alexandria, Egypt. So it would stand to reason that It was started in Alexandria as well, because that was also a major place where Jews were revolting against the Roman Empire, waiting for their Messiah. The people, you gotta fully conceptualize this thing and not just grab the part that you like. Okay, so Brian Surrey, you know what? See, this is pretty much what I expected, for you to say there is no explanation, because you're one of those Christian people. Just do this, and you can't explain why, which means you're just making some shit up. You know, read it from the New Testament, then back, because you're getting it wrong. You read the shit wrong. But then you can't explain it. Why make a? I have never understood why the purpose of making a statement about something but not having information to back up why you're making that statement. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And especially when you're grown, that makes no sense to me. It doesn't. What is your opinion on Christians before the Council of Nicaea? That it was in huge disarray. You had Christians fighting one another over who was Jesus, the Trinity, about what type of lessons, where did Jesus go, like the whole deal. It was in disarray, and it turned into a huge fight, which is why Constantine had to organize it. so, so this dude Brian, he's reason for saying that the reason why you read the old before the new is because Christianity is based on Jesus Christ, who was about love and sacrifice his sins so you can die, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. If you don't read the Old Testament, then you don't even have a justification for Jesus even coming. Like, where did the sin come from? If I read the first part, I'm like, where did this sin come from? It's too many questions to be asked, and then you have to go to the Old Testament to read it. But to say that he's based off of love, no, he said that he came to cast fire upon the earth. That he came not to take one tittle from the Old Testament, meaning that everything from the Old Testament is valid, and you should be following it, and you should be doing it. So you should be keeping all those holy days and festivals and slaughtering all those animals and treating women a certain way and foreigners a certain way. If it's so much about love, then why is slavery allowed? And even in the New Testament, it still allows slavery. Where's the love in slavery? If you can ever explain the love in slavery and the love in the treatment of women, then no, explain that, sir. So your Jesus is not about love. It's bullshit. He's like a spousal abuser. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you and all this kind of stuff. And then they show you love, and then they get mad and they beat the shit out of you again. And then they apologize, and then they show you love. Then they get mad and they beat the shit out of you again. Then they show you love, and they apologize, and then show you love again. Then they get mad and beat the shit out of you again. That's your Jesus. That's the love of your Jesus. It's abusive, because also show me how there is love if you're always going, if at the end, if somebody disagree with you or chooses free will not to believe in you, which I got to believe in you for there to be a free will choice not to believe in you in the first place. But if I choose not to believe in you, I go to hell forever. You gave me a mind to reason, to rationalize. I rationalized that this book is bullshit, that your God is evil. But then my punishment for being a rational being and thinking through the process is that I got to go and spend eternity in hell, because I wouldn't be your slave on earth so that I can then be your slave in heaven. So now I got to go to hell and burn for eternity. Bro, show me the love in that. There is no love in that. That's an abusive relationship. Does not work. Let me try to catch up. Like this dude, just stop. You're so wrong in every way. You just don't want to accept that everything I just said, is the truth. Is the Jesus didn't die for my sins. He didn't die for anybody's sins, because the Jesus dying for your sins is a made up story. It's not a real story. So yeah, no. Let me move on to something else, because what we don't do is go in circles. Right. Christians, okay, you can't say Christians existed before Rome. Well, you can and you can't. Christians existed before Rome in the Levant, but then they went the next sect of Christianity was in Antioch, which is in Turkey, modern day Turkey today. But then Christians went into Egypt and Rome at the in around the same time frame, and we're talking about late first century is when you had these Christians already in Rome. It was a rapidly advancing religion, and mainly because you got Josephus writing in Rome, you got uh, Philo writing in Egypt, and you got Herod writing in the Levant. So the religion was being birthed in three places relatively at the same time after 70 AD. I mean 70 CE because I don't like using AD. So after 70 CE. So from 70 CE forward, you get Christians and they're running around. You just don't have what we like to say is the Roman Church until much later. But you can't say that they weren't in Rome because they were surely in Rome. Even your letters of Paul place them in Rome if you believe in the Bible. Um, Jewel, I would love to be available for everybody, but I cannot. I get requests about 15 to 20 requests a day to have personal one-on-one conversations and dialogue, and I just can't do it. Um, I can't keep up with that because if you think about it, it would accumulate over time, and then I would have my phone would be ringing off the hook, and I do not give out my personal number. Very few people have my personal number, but this is why we're here because there's no way I could be able to facilitate everybody's one-on-one conversations. And I, so and then not to add the coaching program that I have to do. Nah, I'm so nothing against you. It's just it's not feasible. Brian, you really need to take the blinders off. Christians always say you really need to educate yourself. That's not what you mean. What you mean is that I need to agree with you. That until if I was, if I had the same knowledge base that I have right now, but I was in agreement with Christians, Brian would be on here saying that you are a great intellectual man of God. If I spun everything that I know to fit Christianity, you would say the opposite. But my knowledge base would still be the same. It's the framework that changes. And that's all what you're really saying is you want my framework to change. And I ain't never heard somebody say read the New Testament first and then read the Old Testament. You can't even make a good argument for it. You keep saying the same stuff over and over again. I can do that. I can do that. No, my dear. If you go and read Leviticus 25, your God most certainly condones slavery. He says in Leviticus 25, now, and I'm going to explain both versions of it to you. In Leviticus 25, he does say that for other Israelites that you take into slavery for that reasons, that ends at the end of 7 years, you are supposed to give them freedom and all this sort of thing. But he says, and later on in 25, of the foreigners who live amongst you and of foreign nations, those you are to make it, those you can buy or make into your slaves and pass them down for generations as property and pass them down to your sons as property. So yes, your God is in favor of slavery. And there's even a trick to make a Hebrew your slave as property as well by having a Hebrew slave, giving him a wife, let him and his wife have a child. If that slave at the end of 7 years, the child and the woman and the child must remain slaves for life, which says that a Hebrew woman does not have the year of Jubilee, only the man does. But then if that man decides that he wants to stay with his family, then he is to be put against the post in the synagogue, pierce his left ear, and make a statement that he desires to still be a slave with his wife. He still wants to be with his wife and remain the slave property. So your Bible does condone slavery of women, of children, and foreigners, perpetual as property, easy right off the bat. And there is a trick to make a Hebrew man a slave for the rest of your life. So, no ma'am. And that's why the Europeans looked at foreigners to make them property slaves, but other Europeans, they made them into indentured servants. And you see that in American history because they was following Leviticus 25. I'm gonna end with this. Oh, y'all talking about something else? Oh, y'all! I see y'all got into an argument where y'all calling each other names. Let's remain civil. Let's remain civil here, people. Let's remain civil. Let's not get into the name calling. We are adults. I know I've gotten way behind. You heard Thomas Jefferson found love in slaves. He sure did. Because it's a religion that was forced upon black people. Just like if a person is in the Americas, it's a religion that was forced upon people in America. Actually, Christianity was forced upon everybody that ever is Christian. If you go back into their history, even in the Roman government, they forced Christianity upon all Europeans. So it's a forced religion. It's not a religion that grew because people like prophesized or God showed up. It's forced. And one of the most recent forced is on black people. And should be the Spanish people, the Latinos and Hispanics, they should be pissed. They should be like, hell no, fuck this religion. All right, I know, and I fell behind. Oh, this is some bullshit statement right here. See, this is how Christians just be adding stuff to the narrative. We went through this when we was going through Genesis, and at no point did it demonstrate that Hagar desired to be a slave of Abraham after being to avoid being an Egyptian slave. First and foremost, one of the things that you might not understand is that as far as the Muslims are concerned, Hagar was the daughter of Pharaoh and was never a slave. So Hagar to the Muslims is not ever a slave. Now, it doesn't even, there is nothing in the writings that lets you know that Hagar was ever a slave in Egypt. It just says that she was given to them. She was part of the outcrop that was given to Abraham into slavery. So we don't know if those people who were made slaves to Abraham ever were slaves in Egypt. We have no idea. There's nothing that would validate that. That's your own opinion. Now, the second part is that she did not want to remain a slave of Abraham. She left when Abraham kicked her to the curb because Sarah got all into her feelings. It was your God that forced her to go back and be a slave. She was perfectly fine sitting out in the wilderness and dying. She'd rather die than go back to be a slave to Abraham. But your God came to her and made her go back to Abraham. And then when they kicked her to the curb again, your God said that I will make a mighty nation out of your son and gave them this water and this oasis and all that, which created Islam. So that makes your God and Allah the same. But no, that's bullshit. That's trying to make it seem like, oh, the Hebrew was so much better with slavery. No, they weren't. The fuck they weren't. And there is no such thing as good slavery. Let's just put the nail in the coffin right there. No such thing as good slavery. If I was God, one of the first commandments would be no man shall own another man, period, point blank. Don't care what the reason is. Because that's wrong no matter how you slice the cake. It's wrong. It's wrong. There's rat poison in the cake, no matter how sweet it tastes. That bull. Do you have a conversation with people? I thought I just answered this one. That no, Jewel, I don't. I actually don't. Unless a person happens, like when Dwayne Howard, he happens to live not too far from here, from where I'm at in Wilmington, North Carolina, and he met me at a cigar lounge. Another guy named John met me at a cigar lounge. Ramses used to come to my cigar lounge in Atlanta. And even when he would come there, depending on what was going on, we may or may not have a conversation about stuff. But as far as just offline, no, I don't. It's too many. It's too many people asking, and I wouldn't be able to facilitate it. I know what you mean, trauma. Y'all know normally the last 2 years I would be sitting here with a cigar, but where I'm at in Wilmington, I can't have a cigar. It's killing me. No, I didn't kill me, but I do want because I had a good meal. It's really not even the fact; it's the good meal that makes me want a cigar. It sure does. Jesus, when he was saying that, why have you forsaken me? It sounds like a man that's questioning his own. Like, wait, dude, what happened? And if they were supposed to be one, why would he be asking this question? Why? It doesn't make sense. Right? A man let people hang him on a cross for your sins. Ridiculous. It's a story, people. I'm glad. Right. Your God, in order for you to be forgiven for your sin, it requires human sacrifice instead of your God just figuring out a way to say, hey, you know what? If you sincerely apologize, I'm good. Sincerely apologize and change the way you live your life. I'm good. I'll forgive you. No, I need some human sacrifice because I need some blood to be spilled in order for me to forgive y'all. Just like back in the old days when I needed lambs and bulls and rams and I needed beans, greens, lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, onions. You needed all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's a blood sacrificing God. And this one was a human sacrifice at that. I don't know, Brian, if you talking to me, you talking to somebody else, but I will not take you for real because you're insane. That's why you asked me to start an Orthodox church because either the Orthodox Church or the churches that were created in Antioch and in India and Egypt. Yeah, the Orthodox churches were the ones that was started in those places, but it's still a study of the Bible itself, and just studying the Bible was my primary focus. Um, the slightly different interpretations that each church may have really didn't matter to me because the core of the books is horrible. I couldn't I studied when I stopped looking at the Quran. As soon as I got to where it started talking about slavery, it was okay. It was okay for you to have a slave. And I was like, okay, I'm done. It was okay to treat women this way. Okay, I'm done. You know what? And here's one of those things that I understand is okay. I'm gonna call you punks because I'm gonna say Jacobo. He believed in the Bible. I was once lost on addiction, and God took me out of it. He reached me and saved and saved. I am sober now. I applaud you. I am glad that you are not addicted to drugs or whatever it was you was addicted to. I'm glad. And if you believing in the biblical God helped you to do that, or is what your belief is the only way you did that, that's awesome. But let me ask you this. How many people who practice Islam can say the same thing about Allah? How many people who practice Indus religion can say the same thing about Krishna or Brahma? How many people can claim that if it wasn't for the love of their wife or the love of their husband? How many people can claim other emotional states of connection that allow them to be free of their addiction? I'm not trying to discredit what you've been through, but what I'm saying, my guy, is this. There was something emotional that you attached to that connected you to the Bible that allowed you to gain the strength to get there. But what I submit to you is that in every situation, it's an inner strength that we exhibit to connect us and get us out of any and all situations, simply because the evidence of people from all across the world with different backgrounds going through the exact same thing but having different beliefs are able to do the exact same thing. So, what is the common denominator? The emotional strength that that person has within themselves, the mental strength that they then develop within themselves. That's the common denominator, because it ain't the God of the Bible, it ain't the Quran, it ain't the Vedics, it ain't the Upanishads, it's none of these other religions. It's themselves that is the common denominator. And those who don't even have religions find something else that connects them, that gets them out of those addictions. Proud of what you have accomplished. Keep striving forward, and I don't stay with your Bible. But think about that for a second. No, you're right. They weren't called Christians. They were called Nazarenes, followers of the way. They were called Christians, many different names, depending upon who you're talking about and when. All right. I don't necessarily have a faith position because I need facts. Now, there is a point where all things does have to go, where you do have to uh, I make a reasonable hypothesis that there is a intelligent designer, a creative mind at work, and we exist in the mind of the creation, the mind of the all. The all is in all, but all are not the all. But the all does not fiddle around and Geppetto our lives in the same way that any of these religious doctrine does, and it doesn't fit into the guise and the ideal of man. There is no jealousy, because if there is jealousy within the all, then jealousy is more powerful than the all. If there is anger within the all, then anger is more powerful than the all. So the all is not this emotional character of all these other religions, but just creates and exists simply because it does, above the consciousness that is controlled by any emotion or any desires or wants or anything like that. And that we exist within the mind of the all, trying to, and the goal is just to continue to grow and develop our consciousness. There is no hell or heaven other than the ones that you create for yourself. And you can create a heaven and hell right now. And I love the Kabbalion. It's one of my favorite books. Because the Hermetic laws are a very good understanding of the all and the laws of the universe. I got lost in where was the last? I know I fell behind, so I'm trying to catch up to where y'all at. I know I was trying to see if my man responded, but he didn't. I don't see anything yet. He maybe has, and I just hadn't caught up to it. I see y'all just going at each other. I just sit back. Appreciate it, Robin. Thank you very much. Dude, dude, there's no information that says that Hagar chose to be in Genesis. I already explained that. Okay, okay. You still want to believe that Hagar chose? There's nothing in Genesis that shows that Hagar chose to be an Egyptian, to be a slave. Your God forced her to go back to Abraham. He forced her to go back to Abraham. It amazes me how Christians, how believers of any book really, will force their narrative, no matter what you show them, will force their narrative. And the fact that you say that Egyptians had zero laws shows me that you've never studied ancient Egypt, because Egypt actually did have laws regarding slaves. You know, you couldn't just kill a slave, beat a slave. Slaves actually had rights in Egypt in the same way they had rights everywhere else. It was the trans-Sahara and the transatlantic slavery that was violently different than any other type of slavery. Even in ancient Rome, slave had rights. Ancient Greece, slave had rights. Ancient Egypt, they had rights. Akkadian, Sumeria, slave had rights. You know, the Hammurabi Code shows that slave has rights. So, no, it is only the trans-Sahara and the transatlantic slave trade where slaves had absolutely no rights for the most part. So y'all full of shit. People love to make things fit personal, um, their personal story, so that it can make it work. Oh, I gotta throw this up here because I actually watched that movie. And when I watched that movie, I loved that movie. Was good. I saw your reel about the movie Nefarious. If y'all haven't seen Nefarious, is a great. It was a good dialogue movie. Uh, it was very informative. Have you ever read the Holy Tablets? The Enuma Elish? Yep, yep. Have you ever tried to tell people the religion of? Have you ever tried to tell people religion is not a divine creation? It is meant to control us psychologically in order to break humans. You have to break him psychologically first, then physically. Yes, Amanda. I tell people that all the time, that is what the religion is. It's about control, and it was created to control you. When you read the Enuma Elish, one of the things about it is that Enlil desire for the people to not be able to reproduce themselves, and that was the sin that was in the garden, is that Eve or Titi was found pregnant, and so then they had to be kicked out of the garden, so they couldn't learn how to use the tools of the Anunnaki and then destroy them. But yeah, man was always supposed to be under the control of the Anunnaki so that they can use them as a slave labor force. And then once the Anunnaki decided to back off, they applied those humans who had the most Anunnaki blood to be the leaders, which is why it's so important for them to keep their bloodlines in order to maintain that control. And religion has been that a primary methodology of maintaining control. Yeah, and I know that she is answering to Quinn is answering to old boy's statement about, oh, Jesus came to die so we wouldn't have to go through that horrific death. Do you know that there are people on this planet who are going through deaths that are more horrific than what your Jesus went through? Yeah, yeah, there are people, and I've seen some of them. So whatever the hell with that bullshit. And then why are people going through that? See, this is dumb shit right here. Oh, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing over and over again because I actually don't have anything to combat what you just said. Because if you was an Egyptian slave, you would have prayed to be a Hebrew slave. Because I have no information about what it was like to be an Egyptian slave, but I'm just stuck on my book because I'm just going to keep saying the same thing. That's how robotic you sound, my guy. Oh my gosh, these people, y'all are funny. It's like, let's have an intellectual conversation. No, I want to be a robot and say the same shit over and over again with nothing to back it up. That's why I skip so many comments. Let me see if I can catch up. I'm trying to catch up to where y'all at. I like how y'all just having great. Y'all just having y'all arguing amongst yourselves. Okay, two things, Victor. You're absolutely wrong. If she did not go to Abraham, she would have become a slave. No, if she did not go to Abraham, she would have died in the wilderness the first time that she was kicked out into the wilderness because she had let her son go over to the side so that she can watch him die, and they were going to die. So she was choosing death over being a slave to anybody. And you're right. You said Abraham did not kick her out. Sarah did. No, Sarah insisted that Abraham kicked her out. Don't act like Sarah had power to go and kick her out on her own. She had to get Abraham's permission. Remember the story. Go back and read the story, Victor. Go back and read the story. Sarah came up and complained about this, about Hagar, saying that she acting all fuddy duddy because she not had your little baby and everything, and you need to kick her out into the desert. And it says, and Abraham kicked her out into the desert. It's because Sarah complained, but Abraham kicked her out into the desert. Read your damn story, man, before you come on here. Good, good. Ah, and she was, that one was perfectly happy down in the gut in the desert. No, no. If someone owed you money, they were not your slave. If someone owed you money, but they could not pay the money back by the end of the contract, then you could take them into debt slavery, according to if they are additionally of the same tribe that you are. But if they are of a different tribe, and you can just go and buy their asses as your slave. That's what your book say. Ooh, yeah. Y'all can't talk to somebody who not read and studied your book for over 30 years and come with this bullshit. Exactly. My man here. Oh, I don't know if that's a dude or not because Robin can be a male or female, and I can't see the picture that well. Like a little baby on there. They say, but the more that I dive into the Bible, sir, I have read it several times, and it's a crock of shit. Christianity. This is my point. The more and more you read this book, if you actually truly read it and studied it, and not just try to like superimpose your Christianity over your belief, not have a predetermined landing point. There's no way you come from this book thinking that, oh yes, this is the beautifully written word of God. This is truly inspired by God. No, you recognize how bullshit this book is. Y'all, did I not explain this a little while ago? Did I not explain this a little while ago? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Why is it that y'all can't read Leviticus 25? What's wrong with y'all reading of Leviticus 25, Victor? I have a hard time understanding why Christians have a problem with reading Leviticus 25 when it clearly states that if you that of the foreigners you make them property for life and pass them along to your sons as property for life. What's so hard about y'all being able to read that? I mean, do y'all get to the part about it where it only talks about other Hebrews and then you stop? Or, you know what? You heard the pastor say it, and that's the only part he or she said, and they didn't go past that. And that is why you couldn't. That's why y'all don't know the part. That's why y'all stick to that 7-year bullshit. Because y'all don't read it yourselves. Only through the cigar. I mean, only through the pastor, what they tell you. Is that what we doing too, Victor? Is that what we doing too? You know that I can't have a cigar right now, so you just gonna rub it in like that. And what we doing? Okay, Victor. All right. Y'all see how Victor doing me now? Y'all see how Victor doing? You now see Victor first. We just different perspective, but having a polite conversation. But now you being an asshole because you gonna let me know you got a cigar and I don't have one. I got coffee. That's all I got. You like when it get warm, I'm doing these lives outside. Damn it! But it's an asshole move, Victor. Oh. That's why I'm be getting off here in a few minutes. If that's a question towards me, then yes, I do believe that Christianity is built on narcissism, control, and greed, especially the control. Well, you're wanting the control because you're a narcissist and you're greedy. Yeah. Oh, let me catch that. Jesus was not hung on a cross. He was hung from a tree, Acts 5. Yeah. There is conflict in that thought process. Yeah. I did have a coffee. It's like y'all and just going into these conversations. Brian said he a lover of collard greens. I don't know if y'all are reading the comments, but they going back and forth in these comments. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Um, Amanda has studied religious theology and ancient mysteries, and there is no way I can believe in the Bible. But the part I want to get to is that she has 7 years clean, and when she first started her recovery journey, she tried to do Jesus, um, ABS, the 12 steps, uh, and it didn't work. And that was my point I was making to Jake, the other guy, Ponce, earlier. If he was able to do it by believing in Jesus, fine. Don't want to take that away from him. But that ain't it. This woman got clean 7 years, and Jesus, the Bible, ain't had nothing to do with it. Watching from Zambia. might be coming to Zambia in 2025. My nephew is getting married in Zambia, so I might be coming to Zambia in 2025. Ooh, y'all just talking. I don't know who talking to me and who talking to y'all having y'all other conversation. Yes, I have to have some facts in order, and I at least got to have some evidence for the things that I cannot prove. I got to have evidence to lead me in that direction, and that was based on Amanda saying that walk by faith, but there must be facts, logic at least. Does the all have an actual name? No. So, like if you read the Tao has the best answer for this. In the first phrase, the first writing in the Tao said, the moment that you give the way a name, it is no longer the way. The moment you put it in a book, it is no longer the way. So the moment you confine it to anything that we use as descriptions, it is no longer that. The all is unknowable and undefinable. So therefore, you can't define it with names. You can't define it with a book. You can't define it with rituals or practices. And it's unknowable. You can't have this personal relationship with it and know its behavior patterns because it doesn't have a behavior pattern in such that man would have a behavior pattern. So no, it does not have a name. Because that's the thing, you want to have be able to refer to it. That's why we just refer to it as the all, because why does it need to have a name in order for you to be able to refer to it, the existence of it? Doesn't. That's a human thing. That's trying to bring things to human levels. I don't know if you're asking me, do I know Jesus' main teachings? Jesus had quite a few main teachings. Leave your mother and father and come with me. Hate your mother and father, come with me. Turn the other cheek. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Uh, love the God and keep His commandments. Greg, congratulations. How do you like North Carolina so far? I would have hoped for a cigar break, but it's not here. I don't feel like I've moved here yet, even though the last boxes have been unpacked as of like yesterday. But I still don't feel like I live here yet. It's weird. I feel like I'm supposed to go back to Atlanta anytime now. Like tomorrow morning, I'm supposed to wake up and go back to Atlanta. So I'm still not mentally here. I got to get my routines down, and this is part of getting my routines down by uh, doing the lives again. God damn, I ain't gonna catch up with y'all at all. Uh, See, I was shielded in Atlanta. You know, and Georgia was part of that as well, but I was shielded in Atlanta. Actually, I gotta admit, out here in Wilmington, it's that overly nice kind of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like where everybody trying to make sure that they speak to you, make sure they smile at you. You know, all of them be just like, hey, like, all right, y'all have seen black people before. It's that overly nice one. That's you know, but yeah. And this is, and maybe other parts of North Carolina are different, but Wilmington has definitely been that way so far. I loaded up a video last night that covered that commercial and how the Christians are big mad about it with Jesus scrubbing everybody's feet. So go watch that video. I need all the views. But I just thought it was interesting that they're trying to change that. They are changing the message that the Bible actually teaches. The Bible doesn't teach inclusion, and they're purposely changing it. So once again, culture changes religion, not religious changing culture. They spent a whole bunch of money on them commercials too, and I think they ran like 3 commercials, so that'd been like $27 million because each commercial costs a little over $7 million. Oh, I have stopped paying attention to what Brian Surrey has been saying for a while because I see y'all are just handling that Joker, and he says some stuff that makes no sense. From the very beginning, talking about reading the New Testament first, I was just like, okay, this makes no sense to me at all. But you said that at least I'm following the right person according to the Bible. God is not a person because they believe in a Trinity. That Jesus came in the flesh as God, but yet was on the cross talking about some, why have you forsaken me? And then asking, like, why don't you take this away from me? And praying to himself, and then don't know shit. And he's supposed to be omniscient. Um, what does that have to do with Egypt and the laws of slavery in Egypt? So you can't talk about, well, she wanted to be an Egyptian slave and they didn't have any laws, but then you start talking about Babylon. Babylon and Egypt are not the same place. Doesn't fit. Doesn't work there, Victor. Doesn't work. Stick with Egypt if you're going to talk about Egypt. Oh, it was up to 71, Brian. Oh, such a nice Christian. Just a nice Christian. Dude, I don't care if you curse or not. I really don't. I just find it funny. I'm not even paying attention to the things that y'all are talking about. What? Greg, you hated it? Oh man, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. But then I mean, hell, don't we all have our differences, right? I thought it was great. I am trying to catch up to y'all. I'm just gonna slide all the way down to the bottom. Good night. I would never catch up. Y'all are typing way too fast. Oh, because I said every country had laws towards slavery. Okay, even though they did kill a lot of people, they still had laws towards slavery. Just because you can find instances where, and if you're basing it only on the Bible, then you're lacking a lot of the information because you got to go look at the tablets and things that they found in those places. You got to look at how they coded their laws based on the Hammurabi Code, and not just go by the Bible. If you're going only by the Bible, then maybe you'll think that. But if you look at archaeological evidence of how the laws were in different countries, then you realize that you can't take the Bible over those. That's like if I go to Russia and I take a Russian history book, but I also have an American history book, both published in 1980, 89 or 88. But I only read the Russian one. I'm going to think America is an evil empire. But if I read the American one, then I'll think that Russia is the evil empire. So you can't just look at your one view. You got to look at both sides of the story. And the Bible is actually no side of the story, because when you got the law of the place in the cities, that's the law. And then you threw out a statement that they literally sacrificed slaves in Egypt. Based on what? Based on what? And then I can throw back and say the Hebrews had child sacrifice. The Northern Israelite had child sacrifice. Found Moloch sacrifice within the Israelite temples. Found the Moloch sacrifice in the temples in Israel. So sacrifice slaves, sacrifice babies. Yeah. Those were apostates. That's always the excuse, right? Oh, but they weren't the real believers. People need to understand that when the Bible speaks of laws in the land, it is only a specific time frame, right? And like I did a video yesterday, and in that video, I talked about the time frame of the book of Isaiah being written, right? And the book of Isaiah was written over a 300-year time frame. Almost 300-year time frame was this one book of Isaiah written. So you know how many things change in almost 300 years? Look at America. How much has changed in America over the last 300 years? My happy black ass wouldn't be able to sit here 300 years ago. But taking the word of the Bible as to what other people were doing, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take it. Because the Bible is not historical. Not historical at all. King Hazar sacrificed his child and taught it to Hebrews. It was wrong, it specifically. No, the Bible is not historical. It has certain historical. The Bible is as historical as Spider-Man. Really. Spider-Man was in New York. New York exists. But does that make Spider-Man and the Rhino exist? No. And who was the one that said that the first thing that comes out this door I'm going to sacrifice as long as you let me win this battle? Who was that? Y'all remind me who that was. Yeah. Who sacrificed their daughter to win a battle in the Bible?
According to Jewish Women's Archive, Jephthah's daughter is the victim of her father's vow to sacrifice a person in return for victory in battle, although the text does not explicitly state that he killed her.
Bullshit. So who killed their daughter? That's very. Why am I putting you right wrong? You just jumping all around. I want to know how you say the Bible is historical. Because the Bible records and actual history do not line up. Okay, is this your answer? In Genesis 1. Oh, let me put it so y'all can see what his answer was. Genesis 1, put the sun and the moon in space with the earth rotating around the sun and the moon rotating around the earth. This was written around 1500 BCE, when the rest of the world believed that the sun and the moon were inside the earth going up and down. Jacob 26:7 says the earth hangs on nothing in space. This was written around 700 BC when the rest of the world was believing that we were back on the back of a turtle. If you were alive back then, you would have believed the Bible. Okay. Oh my God. You are like stretching and reaching and stretching and reaching, my God. Okay. Because the ancient Sumerians, 8,000 BCE, 6,000 BCE, the ancient Sumerian, ancient Egyptians knew that the earth was round and knew that the sun went around the earth. They actually have a picture where they drew the sun and all the planets, including Earth and some of the moons, going around the sun. We know that they already had that. And they weren't thinking that we was on the back of a turtle or nothing like that. There was one group that thought we was on the back of a turtle. I can't remember who that is. I think it's in the Indus, or it's a Native American tribe or somewhere around there. But the back of a turtle was not a world known thing. Most of the world was not even in communication with each other. The ancient Dogons already knew that the earth was a circle that was going around the sun. The Aztecs, the Mayans already knew that kind of stuff, man. People weren't going around here thinking that the earth was flat or none. So your statements are invalid. And no way does this prove that your Bible is historical. That's science, actually. That's just showing that there are certain aspects of the Bible that do fit modern understandings of science. And I wouldn't take that away from your Bible, just saying that it doesn't prove that your Bible is historical. Historical will be able to prove that Moses and the Exodus happened, that Noah and his flood happened, that the kingdom of Israel, it was as big as they claimed it to be under David, which it was not. That would be historical. That Joseph was with the Pharaoh and saved them from 7 years of famine, 7 years of feast, and all the shenanigans that went on. That would be historical. All the 300 different cities that they supposedly destroyed as they was going around the Sinai, that would be historical. You have none of that. That the book is not historical at all. In claiming the different kingdoms to which it had, that's historical. Science doesn't make it historical, like being able to identify the sun, the moon. No. It says praise Spider-Man. There I go, falling behind again. No, the Sumerians came first, and then they were somehow either merged or conquered by the Akkadians. But no, we do have Sumerian writings, my guy, and we have translation tablets from Sumerian to Akkadian. Look, as far as the first real kings of Israel, the only thing close we know that there's a tablet or something that has the House of David, but they still haven't been able to archaeologically establish like the kingdom of Saul. That has never been established. Now, I will say this. You said the fact that Herod was an Edomite, that's historical. I don't know. I don't know about that part. But I will say this. Anything from after the Babylonian captivity, well, not anything, but things after the Babylonian captivity in 534 BCE, things do become more historical after that point. Like Hezekiah was an actual person. So actually, let me go further. Let me say 722. 722 BCE on to the current time frame, you get more of those things are somewhat more historical, especially when it comes to leaderships, because Hezekiah was an actual over the city of Jerusalem leader of the Israelites, and you get his lineage. So those things, yeah, I'm gonna give you those. But as far as all the other stuff, hell no. Anything before 722, no sir. Abraham was from Ur, and his father was Terah, was a pagan. And while this is where monotheism was reestablished, that's historical. Not really. You cannot prove Abraham actually existed. And Abraham tells you exactly where his tomb was at, right? But you can't prove Abraham existed. And monotheism is still debatable. Some would say it started with Akhenaten in 1440 with the worship of the Akhten. Others would say that it started with the Zoroastrians, which would still be, but either way, the Zoroastrians and the Akhten would be before there was ever such a thing as an Israelite or Hebrew. All right. But if you looked at the Abraham story based on the begetting and the begetting, then you would place them before the Akhten. But you have no proof that Abraham actually existed. There's no proof of it. And that's the problem with the Bible. There's nothing to back it up except itself. And then what other people, hundreds of years, thousands of years, wrote that they believed. And how can, okay, so if Abraham, you said monotheism was reestablished in Ur, but Abraham left Ur. And actually, we have more documentation to show that the city of Ur remained a city state where either El or Elnana was their god. Oh no, the god Sin. I mean, who was the god of the city of Uruk? I did not say Uruk. Yeah, Elnana or Ishtar was the primary god of that city. So no, dude. How do you claim that to be monotheistic when that city had always remained under that God? Remember, in your story, Abraham left. See what I'm saying? Abraham left. So you can't say it reestablished in that city because Abraham left. Yeah, I did really ask Google because, here's one thing that I find funny. It's all these people who, when they disagree with them, oh, you using Google, and you can find anything in Google. Google is a tool like anything else. Google is like a hammer. Either I can build a house with a hammer or I can murder the hell out of somebody with a hammer, right? It's just a tool. How you use the tool, and see, they think they catch you and say, so your faith is in Google. No, dumbass. I research and look at where the information is coming from and evaluate that information. Now, here's the thing. I didn't need to look at Google. I just couldn't recall if it was El or Ishtar. I said that even before I looked up Google, I said Ishtar. But I just want to be clear. And then it depends on who's providing the information. And y'all think y'all so, oh, you're dependent on Google. But half the shit you looking up in your life is you looking at Google. And then they try to make it seem like, oh, if you're a Google. Here's the thing, what they try to do. They make it seem like if you're looking at Google, then you're just looking at some arbitrary person, but you're not investigating who the person is to which you're getting the information. But isn't it funny, though? Isn't it funny that they would do that about Google, but yet not do that about their Bible? They will not investigate the fact that their Bible is anonymously written, all their Gospels anonymously written. They have no idea who wrote it. They won't investigate that. They won't investigate the fact that the names that were added to the Bible were decided by people of the Roman Church. They won't investigate that. They won't investigate that over half of the books of the New Testament are debatable books that were debated and still are debatable as far as what their authenticity is. They don't even question what the criteria for the authenticity of their books is. How old it is, who was the author, and does it conform to current modern day Christian thought process? They don't even investigate that, but they want to say something about Google, which gives us the opportunity to look at a broad spectrum of different scholars, educational organizations, whether it's colleges, universities, archaeological organization, nonprofit organizations. Go and read PhD papers. Go and read to different organizations. Find the newest archaeological sites that have been founded. Different, nah, hell with all that. They just look at their little Bible and don't even know who wrote the damn thing. And want to act like you looking on Google is a way of gotcha. I don't think Christians realize how foolish they actually look. But then if you ask a Christian to go look up something outside of their Bible, them bastards go straight to Google. They'll go straight to Google. Google is just a tool. And I know most of them haven't done any research whatsoever. They've only sat there and listened to what their pastor said. If they have read their Bible, they only read the Bible with a predetermined landing point, not even recognize that you've already decided what the book is going to say. So when you see something that is actually disturbing, you're going to be willfully ignorant about it. And that's what you're going to do. Yeah, Google is a great resource. Y'all done heard me say it plenty of times. Google is my friend. Google is my friend. Anyway, what did my man say? He probably said something. I actually literally gave time to Brian Surrey. That was stupid. My apologies, because he's not worth my time. The Sumerian and Canaanite continue to misunderstand the Akkadian writings, which is why there were always twisted, distorted versions of the polytheism. Abraham reestablished monotheism, and Genesis was written with the Akkadian influence, but it was made monotheism instead of polytheism. You do realize that even in your first writings of the Israelites, they believed that God El had a wife named Asherah, right? So truly, even under Abraham, it wasn't monotheistic. And even if you didn't accept the El and Asherah, then you still couldn't claim monotheism as much as you would have to say it was henotheistic, because Abraham, as well as all those other ones, believed that the other gods existed. It's just that El, Yahweh, was their God, but the other gods still existed. So the god Shamash still existed for them. All these other gods existed. So they were henotheistic, not monotheistic. And this Tower of Babel story is a misinterpretation of the Babylonian story of Marduk having a war with Enlil and Enlil destroying Marduk's tower of communication, because it was like how we have communication towers today, destroyed his communication tower. It had nothing to do with confusing of languages. Now, there is another Sumerian story that does say that Enlil confused the people's language. And that's the hard thing about trying to understand the whole Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, Babylonian story, because we're looking at about 5,000 years of a story being told and changed and told and changed and told and changed, depending upon which city-state and then which empire, because it was city-states first, then it became empires, and whoever was in control modified the stories to fit their individual group. So there are different variations within all those stories. So that is one thing that people don't take into consideration. They find one line of those stories and they stick with that one line of story and they run with it instead of recognizing the variations throughout a 5,000-year history. That's exactly what I'm doing. I guess he's telling me that's what I'm doing, as I'm mixing up the story. No, actually, I'm putting everything in its perspective place. When I tell you that they participated like in child sacrifice, I gave you the time frame to which they did it, and then when it changed under Hezekiah through Ezra is when that changed. Prior to that, child sacrifice. So no, sir, you cannot claim me doing the same thing that your people are doing, that your people have done and are doing. When I talk about Enlil and all these other people, I put them based on according to the Sumerians or according to the Akkadians or according to the Assyrians, whoever, depending on which version of the story, I'm gonna tell you who that version is. So no, don't try to throw me in there like that because it ain't gonna work. You think I've missed that little sorry ass saying that you said when you said it. You ain't gonna put me out there like that. No, no, no. All these stories change over time. All of them. Look at your Jesus story. That shit done changed over time. I bet you in a little while, I guarantee you, if the Jesus story lasts another 100 years, Mary Magdalene gonna return to be his wife. There was a time frame where there was a sect who believed that Mary Magdalene was his wife. I guarantee that will come back strong. Guarantee it. But they always try to, try to do that and change the story and make it fit into however they wanted to fit today. But I'm gonna tell you what it was then. Just like when we talked about the fact that there is no mention of an Israelite until 1200 BCE with the Meneptah stele. Before that, there are no Israelites. So because of that, there would be no such person as Moses and Abraham and all of them. Those would have just been made up stories in order to create um, antiquity and propaganda and a history for what these Israelite people are. And of course, they took many of the stories that they were already familiar with of people who were already around. Sackcloth, bro, you late because I'm about to get off. Um, I did a whole video on breaking down the Book of Clarence, but yes, I've seen the movie. So I did. There's a review video that I did for it. So if you go to my video, go click on the page and then click on videos, you should be able to find it. See, I love when they make this claim. How many people have came to Jesus Christ trying to prove that he is not real? Look it up. Because if you go on Google, yes, you can find where people said that they were trying to disprove Jesus, and then in their process, they became Christian, or they were atheists and then they became Christian. But at the same time, I can say, go on Google and look up how many people have left Christianity when they studied it, and you will find a bunch of people who studied Christianity and they walked away from Christianity. So that is like a bullshit kind of statement because you can find it because you're asking Google a specific question to find a specific thing, right? But if you look at the go to more statistics and say like how many people are leaving Christianity, then and do an in-depth research on it, you'll see that more people are free will leaving Christianity. Other reason why Christianity does still keep some numbers because people are born into Christianity. It's the same way when Islam try to say that I've had Muslims who have come on here and they try to say that, well, Islam must be the right religion because Islam is growing faster than any other religion in the world. And that would be true. Just like Christians say that the Bible is the number one selling book in the world. That would be true. But just because somebody's buying a book and just because a number of people are growing doesn't make it real. Now, here's the thing. The reason why there are more Christians and more Islam will outpace Christianity by the year 2050 is because the birth rate of Muslims are higher than the birth rate of Christians. And that's why Islam is growing faster than Christianity. It has nothing to do with Allah being real or the Quran being right. It also has to do with who banging who's using birth controls, and who have access to abortions and things of that nature. You want to know why the multiple reasons why they wanted to get rid of abortions in America? Because white people weren't growing as fast and Christians weren't growing as fast. It's the whole reason. Oh, no, sir. 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 Muslims do not believe that Jesus was Christ. Muslims believe that Jesus was one of the greatest teachers that ever came, but he is not Christ. He is not the Son of God. They do not believe that. What? Where do you get this from? There are 2.6 billion Christians. Okay, Brian? We're going to do, because your math ain't mathing. There are 2.6 billion Christians. There are almost 8 billion people. Half would be 4 billion. Not half. Your math ain't mathing. And just because a greater number of people believe something doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean they're wrong, but it doesn't mean they're right. The majority of people on the planet don't believe in Christianity. What is it, like 7.7 billion people on the planet? And you got 2.6 billion being Christian. That leaves 5.1 billion don't agree with you. So that means the 5.1 billion is right, according to you using numbers. Just saying. You see, you got to think through these arguments before you state them, because when you state stuff like that, you make it easy to break them away, break them down, you know, because that was a bad one. You shouldn't have said that one. Oh my God, bruh. What? Wait a minute. What am I supposed to look it up on? Because according to you, I can't Google it. I was just playing. The man said it's 6.2 billion Christians. How many Christians are on the planet?
2.38 billion. According to Wikipedia, according to a Pew estimation in 2020, Christians made up to 2.38 billion of the worldwide population of about 8 billion people.
Yeah. According to visualcapitalist.com, it's 2.4 billion. According to Pew Research, it's 2.18 billion. According to World Data Info, it's 2.2 billion. And of course, there may be difference in years. It's 2020 to 2024. According to Good Faith Media, which is a Christian media, by the time we get to 2050, they estimate 3.3 billion Christians. And that there was 2.6 billion in the middle of 2023. Where you get your numbers from, man? Where you get your 6 billion from? Oh my gosh. And if you're saying that there was 6 billion, are you saying there was 6 billion in 2020? If you're saying there was 6 billion in 2020 and now it's down to 2.3 billion, that's a huge loss. Why would so many people leave your religion? That man literally put out there and said it was 6 billion. And then we looked it up. And even your Christian sites don't agree with you. Oh my gosh. Oh, why you do that to yourself, Brian? Why you do that to yourself? I don't know why you did that to yourself. You know, it's oftentimes people do shit to themselves. I don't even understand. Oh man. First he said it was half, then he tried to say it was 6.6 billion. Then to challenge me to look it up. And even this Christian site said that it was like 2.2 or 2.3. And those numbers are getting lower. Well, it's going to balance between birth rates and people walking away from it. But I guarantee, here's the thing, with so many people walking away from it being in their 20s, then what you're going to start having is less people who are born into the religion in the next 20 years. So that's when you start seeing a major decrease in Christianity, simply because those who walked away from it, who are in those younger ages, won't raise their children to be Christians. Are you trying to say in 2020 there was no, dude? Some of your numbers were 2023. This was 2023. Ain't nobody took a census in 20. That right. The thing that spoke loudly was 2023. But then I repeated and told you that, and according to who is this? Visualcapitalist.com, in 2020, they did an article at the end of 2022, 2.4 billion. Then your Pew Research was 2.118. That was in 2011, right? Christian Worldwide. I didn't look into the what year. Christian, let's see. World Data Info. World Data Info. When was this? And this is what you have to do. You do have to look up when it was done. And go through it. Ooh, hold on. There's writing. I got tiny on me. So this is current for World Data Info. At 2.2 billion. Now, that's 2012. Your own a Christian Good Faith Media, Christian one. Article published February 13th, 2023. So just a year ago. A year ago, they posted that there was 2.6 billion. And they expect to be 3.3 billion by 2050. That was only a year ago. No, I'm not getting proved wrong. You said 6.6 billion Christians on the planet. You even said that half of the planet was Christian. So your numbers are going to be wrong. You already contradicted yourself right off the bat. Either 6.6 or it's half. Half of 7.7, or let me give you 8. Half of 8 billion is 4. So either 6.6 or it's 4 billion. Which one? So you was already jacked up when you first started. Now, I'm going through. I don't have a problem. If I was wrong, I say that I'm wrong. Doesn't bother me. But your own people are saying no, 2.6 billion in 2023. So how am I showing myself to be wrong when I said that your number was around 2.6 billion? Tell me how I'm wrong, little fella. I want to know. And in the most recent one that was published in 2024, it's saying 2024 Christians approximately 2.38 billion practicing some form of Christianity globally. And this is 2024. So tell me how, his ass little disappeared. He said shit, has he? He said a word. I don't see nothing, bro. Telling me I found facts and proving myself wrong. I'm using your own Christian sites, and your old Christian scientific sites are saying that 2.3 billion. I gave you 2.6. I gave you extra 300 million people. And that joker said 6 billion, 6.6 billion. Yeah, it is always that way, Brian. Almost most of the time that way. They can easily find the information themselves, but choose not to. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to get off of this thing. We've been here for almost 3 hours. I do appreciate y'all for being here with me. I know it's been rough moving to North Carolina. So that's why I haven't done a live in a couple of weeks, because It was a lot, man. It was a lot. I'm not moving like that again. Uh-uh. When we move from here, it's gonna be to some island or some other country. And I ain't taking nothing but clothes. No furniture, just clothes. I ain't built that way no more. So please go and follow the channel. Eat, Sip, Smoke. Eat, Sip, and Smoke Travels. We just went to Boston to watch the Hawks play the Celtics last week. It was a great trip. I hope you follow that trip. We'll be going across country in March, at the beginning of March to the end of March. So remember, I'm going to give you guys the itinerary for that trip. So if you're in any of the cities that we come through, please let me know. If you want to meet up, that'd be great. If you don't want to meet up, that's on you as well. Debbie. So, but if you're in those cities, it'd be great to meet some of you guys. Follow Angelina's channel. Really Did You Know? I greatly appreciate that as well. And continue to share these videos and share the lives. That's how we grow the channel, and that is how we're able to do this full time. So y'all have a great day. And always remember that you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I'm going to have a cigar with some good old food.